Hey everyone, and welcome to our free webinar on 5 ways to reduce your stress. I'm Christy Wright. I'm author of Business Boutique, and I am your business coach for this next hour as we dive into some really practical ways that you can reduce the stress in your life. Now, I want to know, before we even get started, how many of you are stressed? Like, raise your hand. You can chat in the chat bar. Let me know if you're stressed. I assume that you probably are because you're attending a webinar on how to deal with stress. And I'll tell you, I wrote this webinar on stress because I am stressed. This is a tough season in my life, and this was really written for me, but I think it will really help you as well to figure out some tips on how to manage this stress. Now, before we dive in to the teaching, I want to teach you a little bit about how this works in case this is your first webinar hanging out with me and my team. I'm going to spend a little bit of the time teaching you about how to reduce stress, which is what we're going to talk about, 5 really practical ways. And I want you to chat. So you can chat in the chat bar. You can send me your questions for the end of the session when I do the Q&A. You can chat with each other. You can chat with our team. If you have any questions or need any help, we are here for you. And then at the end, the last 20 or 30 minutes or so, I'm going to take your questions. So if I say something or teach something during this lesson and webinar that sparks a question for you, or you think of a challenge or a struggle or a situation that you're not sure how to deal with, that's why we do this. I'm your coach, and I would love to help you think through that and work through that. I don't have all of the answers, but I'm definitely going to help you work through that as much as I can. And if I don't have an answer, I promise you I'll find it for you or find a resource to direct you to, because I want to help you with this. And like I said, stress is something that is a very real reality in my life. And so this is something easy to talk about. I've got stories for days because this is something I struggle with as well. Now, I want to start by just telling you guys a little bit about a stressful situation I thought of whenever I was thinking of this whole topic to cover. And I thought back to 2012, which is when my husband and I got married. So our 5-year wedding anniversary was this year, and we got married on May 5th, and it was thunderstorming. So I wake up on my wedding day, and it was just a bad thunderstorm. And of course, it's your wedding day, so you're naturally going to want to have pictures outside. But ours had a different level of stress because we were having an outdoor wedding. In fact, we were having an outdoor wedding with no backup plan. Like, none, y'all. Now, I was just very optimistic that this was going to be a great day, but you can imagine my fear when I woke up on my wedding day and it's a bad thunderstorm that the weather had not predicted or called for. And this is one example of a stressful situation where you're in a situation that feels or seems really stressful. And that may be one example, but I would be willing to bet that you guys have countless examples of situations you found yourself in, maybe things going on at work, things going on in your business, things going on in your family, whether that's your immediate family or extended family, that seem really stressful. And what I want to talk about today is that stress is actually not a situation. Stress is a state of mind. Okay, so let's talk about this. If you're following along in your notes, which I think you guys probably already got those in your email when you signed up for this webinar, but you can follow along with the notes. Stress is not a situation. Stress is a state of mind. Now, you may be in situations that seem really stressful, like your wedding day, you've got an outside wedding, you don't have a backup plan, and it's thunderstorming. Like, obviously, a natural response to that would be a little stressed. But here's the reality. You can be in situations that seem really stressful, and you can totally keep your cool. Or you could be in situations that are totally normal, and you can be very stressed and very anxious. You could have sweaty palms and a racing heart and just that worry and fear consuming you because you're so stressed. So what's interesting is you control a part of this. You control your state of mind, even if you can't control the situation. So this webinar is about how to control your stress regardless of your situation. Now, you can't always control your environment. You can't control your nagging aunt, for example, or your passive-aggressive mother-in-law if you have some extended family that maybe you're going to see this month at Christmas. You can't control the fact that your kids are probably going to spill their food on their Christmas outfits before you get that magical family picture at church or in front of the tree. You can't control the fact that even though you have made it clear that you want a spa day or expensive jewelry, that you're probably going to get another pair of slippers and a popsicle stick picture frame for Christmas. Like, You can't control that. That's just a reality, unfortunately, this month. And you can't even control the fact that one of your kids is going to be mad about what their sibling got for Christmas. Like, Merry Christmas. This is the reality of this situation. Now, I will tell you, you can't control that. You can't control your situation, but you can control your state of mind. You can, believe it or not, control your level of stress. And so that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about 5 ways for you to reduce your stress. So let's dive into this. If you're following along in your notes, this is your first technique, okay? Your first technique is that I want you to release yourself and others of expectations, okay? Release yourself and other people of expectations. Now, this is particularly helpful during the holidays, whether that's Easter or Thanksgiving or Christmas, whenever. The holidays this can be a really good time to release yourself and others of expectations, because I don't know about you guys, but I tend to have this picture perfect idea in my head of how things are going to go. And you and I both know things are not going to go that way, right? Like, it's never going to play out how I expect in my mind, especially around the holidays or birthdays or big events, weddings, for example, of how this is going to go. For example, I have this idea in my head that my family is going to all get along. No one will fight. My toddlers will not have a meltdown. Everyone will love their presents. They will just gush over what a great mom I am, what a great dad Matt is. We will take beautiful pictures with everyone smiling, no one having meltdowns. It's going to be great. It's going to be totally great. Now, here's the reality. If that is my expectation of my family, if that's my expectation of my children, if that's my expectation of what I'm going to experience during the holidays or any time during the year, then I'm going to be severely disappointed. I'm setting myself up to fail, and I'm setting my family up to fail. Like, y'all, I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. If I expect them to not cry, not have a meltdown, not spill food all over their cute little Christmas suspenders or Easter outfit, if that's my expectation, then I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be stressed, trying so hard to scrub their shirt and brush their hair and sing Wheels on the Bus behind the camera to get them to smile. I'm going to try so hard and expend so much energy to make this perfect expectation reality. And it's not. It's not reality. And so what I've noticed in my own life is that I have expectations of myself and expectations of other people, including my 2 children, that are just asinine. Like, they are just ridiculous. And when you look at them from a distance, you're going, this doesn't make sense. Like, why would you expect that to happen? Why would you expect your family to sit around the dinner table, extended family at a holiday or someone at a birthday party, and not get in a fight when every time you've ever gotten together for every birthday since the history of time, you fight? Like, we have these expectations, and maybe we're just optimistic, and maybe we just want to believe the best, which is great. But sometimes those expectations really lead to disappointment. And it really makes it difficult for you to enjoy the moment, for you to enjoy family, for you to enjoy your kids or holidays or birthdays or get-togethers or whatever, because your expectations up here in La La Land, like complete dream world, that's not going to happen, and then reality's somewhere down here. And the gap between your expectation and reality is where that stress comes in, because you're trying so hard to make reality fit your expectation. I'd love to hear from you guys. Are any of you guys guilty of that? Like, am I the only one that has this picture perfect idea in my head of how things are going to go? I know that we know intellectually it won't, but it doesn't mean we're not still trying to create this Pinterest perfect life. Like, I do it. I even talk about this stuff, and I still do it. It's just I'm constantly trying to create this version of reality that is not reality, that does not exist. Now, we have these expectations of ourselves that we can do everything and we can be perfect and look perfect, and we can't. And when we can't, we're stressed. So our expectations of others create stress in our lives, but our expectations of ourselves create stress in our life as well. We have expectations of our kids that leads to stress. We have expectations of other family members that create stress in our lives. And like I said, despite a lifelong track record of one person in your family acting a certain way, we still believe maybe this year, maybe this time, maybe at this dinner, they'll behave. Maybe they'll act better. Maybe they will get it together. And when they don't, we're disappointed and we're stressed. Now, of course, All families have some level of dysfunction. I would imagine you have at least one crazy family member. How many of you have a crazy family member? If you're not raising your hand, you're probably the crazy family member. I'm just going to tell you, this is tough love. This is just speak truth. We all have crazy family, and we all have some level of dysfunction. And so what happens is we go in with these expectations, and then we leave stressed and frustrated and mad, and it steals our joy, and it steals the moment from us. Let's say you have Uncle Earl. Uncle Earl mentioned that you gained weight again, and you're disappointed because that hurts your feelings. Of course it would. Who would enjoy that? But here's the thing. Of course Uncle Earl said that. That's who Earl is. That's what Earl does. He does it every year. Like, we know this about Earl, so let's stop expecting Earl to behave like a normal, socially intelligent person and just expect him to behave how Earl behaves and just go in with that in mind, right? It lowers the expectations. It releases others of the expectations. And then you can just laugh Earl off and eat that pie anyway, girl. Like, you're just like, okay, well, that's Earl, just being Earl. Instead of him expecting him to behave a different way, instead you release those expectations and you can enjoy the moment and you realize maybe Earl's not capable of more than that. And yes, of course, he should behave better. And yes, people should be more socially aware, but they're not. So release them of those expectations. I'll tell you, in my life, there have been people that I genuinely use this tactic with. Like, I go into scenarios where I know I'm going to see them, and I mentally make the switch and think, release them of the expectations that they're going to behave in ABC, XYZ form. Whatever I think that expectation is. Like a normal person, to be nice when typically they're not nice, to not be passive-aggressive when they're always passive-aggressive. Whatever that expectation is, I release it before I see them. And then when they behave in whatever way that I don't think is okay, I can roll with it. And I know that sounds silly, but you'd be amazed at how much stress you remove from your life when you release yourself and others of expectations. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What are some expectations that you need to let go of? Circle of trust. This is safe. You can share one that you're comfortable with. Are there expectations that come to mind that you think, you know what? I really need to release that person or myself of this particular expectation. And man, the freedom you will feel, the peace you will feel in your life when you release those expectations. You'd be amazed at how much this actually reduces your stress. If you want to reduce stress, release expectations. Now, I've got some examples here. We got some from Tina. Tina's feeling a little stressed, but sewing helps. I love that you guys have an outlet, which is good. But let me know, what are some expectations that you need to let go of? All right, number 2. So number 1 is to release yourself and others of expectations. Number 2 is to remove the emotion and focus on the facts. So remove the emotion from whatever the situation is, whatever you're thinking about, and focus on the facts of what's really happening in this situation. Now, this can be really, really helpful when it comes to overwhelming situations. You're in some of those situations that seem really stressful, and they get bigger and bigger. And the more you think about it, the more stressed you get, and the bigger the overwhelm becomes, the bigger the whole problem becomes. And so this is a really great tip, because what happens is when you're in situations like that, the stress you're feeling can really cloud your judgment. Okay, so you're feeling all this stress, you're feeling anxiety, and it clouds your judgment about what's going on. And then you begin to snowball your thoughts. Have y'all done this? Like, say yes, I know you have. It starts out as you get some bad news from your doctor, and then later on in the day, it's like your kids won't eat their macaroni and cheese, and then you just start snowballing. It's like, I got some bad news from my doctor, and my kids won't eat their food, and nobody likes me, and we're probably going to foreclose on our house, and on it, and you're just making stuff up that's not even true. Your kids like you, and your house is fine, I think. Like, we snowball them. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's why I want you to remove the emotions and focus on the facts. When you feel overwhelmed and stressed, you have trouble discerning the difference between feelings and facts. And I'm saying this to you because this is true for me. I know that from experience. I still do this. Like I told y'all, I wrote this for me. So hopefully it's helpful to you as well. But when you're feeling really overwhelmed and stressed, it's really difficult to discern the difference there between feelings and facts. But when you take the feelings out of it, when you take the emotions out of it and you just focus on the facts, your stress will decrease. Instantly, you feel more peace. Instantly, you remove those stressful feelings because you're just focusing on the facts. Now, I'll give you an example. This was actually just before I prepared for this webinar, and I had 1,000 things on me. I had stage talks that I had to prepare for. a few weeks ago, and I had run-throughs that I had to do for those. I'd been double and triple booked in some situations for meetings. I had a blog due. I had podcast outlines due. I had meetings to attend. I had all these things going on. And just like I'm telling you, I became very stressed and very overwhelmed, and my thoughts began to spiral. And I just started thinking those thoughts. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't keep up. I'm going to bomb on stage. I'm not going to get the blog out. I can't do this. I can't do this. It's kind of like the episode from Saved by the Bell, if y'all ever watched this, with like Jessie Spano, and she like is taking these sleep pills, and she's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And he's like, Jessie, you can't sing like this. She's like, yes, I can. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so scared. That's how we feel, right? Like, it's like you just spiral when your emotions of stress kind of take over. And instead, what I did in that situation, which is what I'm telling you to do, is to stop and take a deep breath and focus on the facts, not the frantic feelings, just focus on the facts. And here's what I realized when I started focusing on the facts. I don't have to do a blog. Now, sure, we do 2 blogs a week, but I don't have to write a new blog. We could update an old blog. We could skip that week and not do a blog. A team member could help me write that blog. Like, I don't have to do a blog. I don't have to attend that meeting. If it's that important, they can give me notes afterwards. They could reschedule the meeting. I don't have to attend that meeting. Of all the things I listed that I had to do, there was only one thing that I really had to do. I really had to do that stage talk run through. I had to practice my talk, because at the end of the day, there was only going to be one person on stage with the spotlight and all these eyes on them, and that was me. And if I didn't do that one thing that I had to do to practice that talk, I was going to be the one on the line. I was going to be the one that bombed on stage in front of all those people. So of all the things I thought I had to do, there was only one that I really had to do. I really did need to practice my talk. When you take the list of 5,000 things and boil it down to one thing, well, that's really manageable. I was no longer stressed. I was no longer overwhelmed. I took all the feelings of overwhelm out of it and looked at the facts. The facts were, I didn't have 15 things to do. I had one thing to do, and I can do one thing, just like you can do one thing. So when you take the feelings of stress out of it, you literally remove them and focus on the facts. What do you actually have to do? What's the reality of this situation? We tend to paint this doomsday scenario to justify feeling stressed and anxious and overwhelmed. And if you do that, you will create a scenario where you are stressed and anxious and overwhelmed. But instead, you can choose to do something different and focus on the facts. And usually the facts, I'd be willing to bet, are not as bad as your feelings. They're not as bad as you think that they are. So my feelings had told me in that situation that I had to do everything and I couldn't. So of course I was stressed. But other than a very few things, you don't have to do most of the things you think you have to do. You don't. Like, we paint this picture that we do, other than things like feeding your family or paying taxes, there's a lot that you don't have to do. It's really up to you. And I'll give you some examples, like for right now in this season. You don't have to cook a meal for the potluck. You don't have to send Christmas cards. You don't have to host that party. You don't have to have matching pajamas for your entire family. You don't have to do all of those things. You don't have to have this Pinterest perfect creation for your child's teacher. You don't have to. And we put this pressure on ourselves that we have to do those things, and we don't. Other than a few important things like, eating, sleeping, paying taxes, you don't have to. And so you really can reduce your stress when you take your feelings out of it and focus on the facts. You don't have to do all these things you feel like that you have to do. And when you remove those emotions, you really do remove the stress at the same time. And that's in your control. That's up to you to do. All right, so the first one, as we're kind of tracking on our list here, the first one is to release yourself and others of expectations. The second one is remove the feelings and focus on the facts. The third one, and I love this one because this is super practical. This is a really practical way for you to reduce your stress. I just want you to write it down. Like, write down what you're thinking about. Write down what's on your mind. And I don't even mean journal necessarily. I mean, what are you thinking about? What needs to be done? Those facts that you just thought about in the last one, write them down. Like, what has to happen? I need to practice my stage talk. Okay, that's doable. Let's schedule it. Let's write it down. This is similar to the last one where it's focusing on the facts and not your feelings. I want you to write down what's stressing you out, because a lot of times we're stressed because we have 100 things going on in our mind and we can't think about 100 things at one time. Like, we've got all these thoughts swirling and in our brain at any given moment. And of course, that feels stressful. Like, that feels really overwhelming to constantly keep up with everything our mind is thinking about. Now, because we're only thinking about them and we haven't written them down, our brain is working really, really hard to keep everything straight. Our brain is working really hard to organize and sort and remember and keep everything straight all the time because you're only holding it there. You're only holding it in your mind. So you have all these things that you're trying to remember. And then, of course, you're going about your day. You're in meetings. You're talking to people. And so you're putting your attention in other places, but your brain is still trying to keep all those things straight. Oh, and remember, don't forget to pick this up. Don't forget to do that. Don't forget to go there. Don't forget to tell him that. Don't forget to buy that thing and go that place and ship that thing. Your brain is going so hard. It's spending so much energy just trying to keep up with all those things that you're thinking about. And so what I want you to do is I want you to write it down, because this whole activity in your brain is where your stress is coming from. This is a whole nother layer. So that's exactly why your thoughts keep you up at night, right? Because your brain is going. Like, you aren't able to sleep because your brain's going, I can't sleep. I can't let this go. I've got all these things I've got to keep up with. Don't go to sleep. I've got all these things. I've got to stay active. I've got to keep it straight. I've got to organize it. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. Well, of course you're not sleeping at night. You can't relax when your brain is going that hard. It's on overdrive trying to remember and sort and keep straight everything that you've got on your mind. I love the quote by David Allen. He wrote a book called Getting Things Done. And if you guys haven't read this book, it's such a practical book on productivity. It's an old book. It's a classic. It is just sold a bazillion copies. But he talks about how to be more productive. And one of his main premise of the book is to write things down. And this is what he says. He says, everything that you've told yourself you ought to do, your mind thinks that you should do right now. Okay, so you tell your mind you need to do this, and your mind thinks, okay, well, we've got to do it right this second. Frankly, as soon as you have two things to do stored in your mind, you've generated personal failure because you can't do two things at the same time. Now, this produces this all-pervasive stress factor whose source can't be pinpointed. Okay, now I don't know if that's ringing true for some of you guys, but for me, I definitely can relate to that because I think of something, I think I have to do it right then, and then as soon as I have multiple things, I'm like, I've already failed. I can't do those things all at one time, but I'm stressed, but I don't know why. I can't pinpoint the source of my stress like he talks about. Now, all you have to do to end this crazy town, this whole madness, is write it down. That's it. Like, all you have to do to end the craziness going on in your head is to write it down, literally. That's it. The moment you write something down, you take it off your mind and you put it on paper. That's what you're doing. You're taking it off your mind and you're putting it on paper. And what happens is when you do that, when you write something down, your brain sees that thing written down on paper and recognizes that it's no longer responsible for it. It's like, oh, well, you wrote that down on your to-do list. Well, good. I can move on to other things. I don't have to keep working so hard to keep this straight because you wrote it down. Now it's the paper's job. It's the to-do list job. It's your phone notes job to keep that straight. I don't have to think about it anymore. And your brain can relax. Your brain can focus on other things. Your brain doesn't have to work so hard. You can be present in the moment. You're not distracted when someone's talking to you. You can feel less stress, more peace, and be less anxious. You also feel that instant relief when you see it on paper because it's tangible and it's achievable. Sometimes we haven't even really sorted through our thoughts until we write it down. It's just this, it's kind of foggy and blurry, and it's like, well, I need to do some things in that area, and I need to clean up that room a little bit, and I need to go figure out what I'm gonna do for this project. The moment you write it down, it gets more specific and focused, it gets more tangible, it gets more achievable when you write these things down. And so it has unbelievable benefits that help you with your stress and actually achieving them. I love the quote also by David Allen where he says, your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. Your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, I'm really guilty of trying to hold ideas in my head. And your mind and your brain is not wired for that. It will generate ideas, and it's up to you to capture it. It's up to you to write it down, capture it, whatever the to-do list, the task, the line item, the action step. It's up to you to put that out there in the world in a tangible way, on paper, on your computer, whatever, so your brain can move on to having more ideas and being more present. The unknown is unachievable. The unknown is unachievable. If you don't know what you have to do, if you just have a bunch of foggy ideas keeping you up at night, you can't achieve them because you don't know what they are. But the moment you write them down, you know what they are and what you need to do. That is then achievable. And of course, you're going to be less stressed and anxious because you can see what you have to do. It's not, I say this all the time, but it's not having too many things to do that overwhelms us. It's not knowing what to do. It's always feeling lost and like we're trying to find our way in the dark. But the moment you write it down, flip on the light, like, oh, well, I've got 15 steps. Well, I can do 15 steps. Or I've got 50 steps. That's fine. I'll do 50 steps. You just need to know the amount of steps and what those steps are. And you're willing to do the work, but that will instantly reduce your stress. I'll tell you guys, when I was paying off my debt, I experienced this. So for years, I did what a lot of Americans do. And I just pretended that my debt didn't exist. After college, I had credit cards and personal lines of credit. I didn't have school loans, but I had multiple medical bills that were outstanding. So in total, I had no idea how much money I owed. I just knew that every month I got a bunch of bills and I paid the minimum payment or maybe $5 more on those bills. And I thought, well, at some point, if I just keep making the minimum payment or a little bit more, $5 or $10 more, if it was a $35 bill, maybe I'd round up to $50, maybe. And I thought, well, eventually they're just going to stop coming and I'll pay them off because I'm paying a little bit more. Well, if you know math, basic third grade math, and how interest works with credit cards, that would not have happened. And so one day, I just had to face it. I just decided, I thought I was doing myself a favor by not facing it, by not putting all my bills on a list of what I owed and what my total debts were. I thought, well, I don't want to know because it'll scare me. But it was actually the unknown that scared me because it was always looming out there. It was that shadow in the night, that fear that like how bad it is. The moment I wrote it down, I realized I had about $25,000 in debt total to conquer. And as crazy as this sounds, I felt less stress. I went from not knowing how much I owed, this unknown, ambiguous monster in the night, to, well, $25,000. Okay. I can do that. Like, that's a lot of money, especially when I was making like barely anything at the nonprofit job. But I thought, I can do this. Like, I can see it. I wrote it down. I can see, okay, if I pay off that one and then I pay off that one and you back out of that and you set goals and you know how much money to put towards it, instantly you reduce your stress when you can see something. So I went from not knowing my debt and feeling very stressed to knowing I had $25,000, which is a lot, and feeling a lot less stress. And that's what happens when you write something down. I felt instantly better because I could see it on paper. You can't achieve something you can't see. You can't achieve something that you can't see. So write it down. You would be amazed at how much you instantly reduce your stress when you just simply write things down. So what's on your mind? What's worrying you? What do you need to do? What do you need to accomplish? What are some things that are stressing you out, these sources of anxiety? And maybe for you, it's not an action item or a list of debts. Maybe it is just a situation that is stressing you out, or the unknown, something coming, I've got a doctor's appointment coming up I'm scared about the results of, or I've got a court date, in 3 months. And that's maybe in that situation, it's just simply journaling. And that's an outlet for you to get these thoughts off your mind and on paper. And it's not necessarily a to-do list. You're not going to do anything about that court date between here and there, but you're processing how you feel in that moment through writing it down. It's amazing how much you can reduce your stress simply by writing it down. All right, so we're moving on to number 4 after I want you to write it down. Another great practical way for you to reduce your stress is to exercise. Now, I know you probably are not that surprised that I'm saying this because it's a known stress reducer. Like this is just widely known because it's proven, but also because I love exercise. I don't always do it consistently, but I will tell you that this is directly correlated with reducing stress in your life. In fact, research shows that exercise mentally and physiologically reduces your stress. So it mentally reduces your stress, but it also reduces stress in your body. Your body's response to stress is reduced by exercise. In fact, exercise gives you endorphins. I won't do my Legally Blonde quote because I do that all the time. But exercise gives you endorphins, which actually has your brain releasing these feel-good chemicals, right? So you go out for a run, your brain is releasing these chemicals that make you feel good and make you feel better, which make you happy. But here's what else. It's the same type of sensation that you get if you were to do drugs, which I don't recommend, by the way, for the record. But what's so interesting is as you exercise, your body is actually creating good feelings. So you feel bad, you go for a run, you come home, you feel good. Like it's not just a runner's high. It's not just like, oh, that was a coincidence or a fluke. There's actually chemicals going on in your body that tell your brain you are happy and you feel good and you are less stressed. There's an article in a Harvard Medical School publication that says exercise reduces levels of the body's stress hormones, such as adrenaline and cortisol. It also stimulates the production of endorphins, which is the body's natural painkillers, and mood elevators. I love that word, mood elevators. It's also, by the way, kind of a form of meditation. Now, I don't know how you feel about meditation, but someone like me that is, I talk for my job, I perform, meaning I'm on a lot, whether it's on stage or on camera or coaching or hanging out, with my team and always kind of high energy activities. Meditation can be really powerful, and meditation can be as simple as being quiet. Quiet, you hear that? I know. It's so painful, which is why I'm not quiet very often. But meditation can be very soothing. It can reduce your stress, and exercise is actually a form of meditation. So, for example, when you go for a run, your body is focused on the repetition of your feet hitting the pavement. If you're doing yoga, your body is focused on the rhythm and the movements and your breath. You're slowing your world down, which is so loud and so chaotic and so busy with so many distractions and technology and phones ringing and kids screaming and all these things. And it just slows down and it gets quiet. And it's amazing how that in and of itself reduces your stress. You also sleep better at night when you exercise. Not to mention, when you finish your exercise, whatever it is, even if you just go for a walk, you have this sense of pride and accomplishment. Like, hey, I went for a walk today, or I went for a hike today, or I went and did a spin class today, whatever that is. There's so many unbelievable benefits of exercising in your life and in your body, but also as a really practical way to reduce stress. And it's very tempting to think of exercise as only a means of losing weight. But we need to think of exercise like drinking water. It's good for you every day. It's good for you all the time, regardless of what your weight goals are. Everyone needs to drink water and everyone needs to exercise. And so if you have been feeling stressed, I'll tell you a great outlet for you is to exercise. When I've had a really bad day at work, either I've gotten bad news or I got some bad feedback or something just didn't go how I wanted it to go and I'm disappointed or frustrated, whatever it is, when I've had a bad day, I'll come home and go for a run and I pound out my frustration on the pavement. And you'd be amazed at how much less stress and how much better I feel and how much perspective I gain, even in just a couple miles of that perspective of like, okay, it's gonna be fine. Tomorrow's a new day. We'll deal with it. It'll get better. But exercise is a really practical way to do that. So I would love to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite ways to exercise? I love running. I love spin classes. I'm a big fan of hot yoga. I love hot yoga. You just sweat. You just sweat and you just feel so cleansed when you leave. It's so good. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What are some ways that you love to exercise, and then give some suggestions to other people too. Maybe whatever something that you like to do that someone else likes to do as well, or you can come up with some new ideas as well. Also, another side effect, obviously, would be that when you're getting your heart rate up, you're having so many great results from this. So aside from the focus and the meditation, you're also burning calories, which carries on well after the exercise. And you'll be more patient with your kids. You'll be nicer to your husband. You'll feel better in your clothes. Like, there's a lot of benefits. So whatever your favorite exercise is, and I want you to chat and tell me some of those ideas, whatever that is, I want you to commit to doing it once this week. Okay? Just once. That's it. You can do 1 hour somewhere, sometime. I don't care if you get up early, go after work, go on your lunch break, get a babysitter on a Saturday during the naps. I don't know. 1 hour. Take the kids to the gym with you and put them in the childcare for 1 hour. They're going to be fine. 1 hour. I want you to commit to having some form of exercise. And I promise you, when you come back, you will realize how worth it the trouble it was. You will feel better. You'll be in a better mood. You'll be happier. You'll be nicer to your kids. They'll like you more just because you took that hour to take care of yourself and exercise. Exercise is a 100% proven and practical way to instantly reduce your stress. 100% proven. Like, this is not a Christy Wright theory. I'm not a scientist. I am not a doctor. I can tell you this is a known fact. If you want to reduce your stress, exercise is a great way to do it. And By the way, like all of these tips, it is 100% in your control. Like, you can control this. I'm not teaching you anything today that is outside of your control. You can control focusing on the facts. You can control removing your emotions. You can control writing things down. You can control exercise. You can control releasing people of expectations. You can't control everyone else, and you can't control your situations, but you can control you. Which brings me to the fifth and final way for you to reduce stress. And if you've been following along with any of my teaching, whether it's through blogs or through Academy videos, if you're an Academy member, if you come to an event, you know I talk about this a lot. And this is a really practical way to reduce stress and just manage situations that you're in. I want you to do this. Act the way that you want to feel. Act the way that you want to feel. See, we think that we need to feel a certain way in order to act a certain way, but you don't. You can actually act the way that you want to feel, and the feelings will follow. You can, believe it or not, stick with me here, control your feelings through your actions. And I don't know, for some of you, I feel like this is a word for you today. And I wrote this because this is a word for me. So often I justify my actions by my feelings. Well, I'm acting frustrated because I'm feeling frustrated, or I'm acting angry at my husband because I'm feeling angry at my husband. And what I've realized is that you can literally trick your brain. You can trick your feelings and your emotions into feeling a certain way by acting that way first. So you don't have to act nice. You don't have to feel nice in order to act nice. You don't have to feel like a decent person to act like a decent person, which some people on Twitter could make note of, by the way. Like, you can actually act in a way that you want to feel, and then your feelings will follow. And it's so interesting. Research shows this, that as you take actions, you can't ever have a disconnect between your actions and your feelings. And so it's called cognitive dissonance. So one of the two will get in line. You don't act a certain way and feel a different way. One will come in line with the other. And so you can actually take action in a certain direction, and your feelings will fall in line. So I'll give you an example. I may drive home from work. Again, I've had a bad day or something, and I'm just in a bad mood. Like, I'm in the mood to fight. I don't know if y'all do this. Sometimes I just pick a fight with my husband, and bless him, he is so steady and patient, painfully steady and patient. And sometimes he just doesn't, no, never. He never reacts. Like, I can't get a rise out of it. And sometimes I'm just in the mood to fight, and I'll pick a fight, and he will not react to me. I'm like, I don't even want to talk about that. He's like, okay, we'll talk about it another time. Like, he's so patient. It's painful. It's maddening. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want you to fight with me. I don't know if y'all are doing this. Is this just me? Maybe it's just me. Anyway, instead of coming home and just ready to fight, or coming home and ready to vent my bad mood or be frustrated or whatever, I will mentally make a shift before I walk in the door. I swear I do this, y'all. I will be in a bad mood when I drive home from whatever happened in the day, whatever I'm disappointed about, something I've screwed up on, whatever. And I pull into the driveway and I think, I'm going to walk in there and act like I've never been happier. There's nowhere I'd rather be than right here with my two screaming kids that are throwing food, and Conley's had a blowout diaper, and Lord knows what's happening with Carter, who's, throwing things and breaking things. I'm going to walk in and act as happy as possible. And I do it. I walk in and I'm like, guys, I'm so excited to see you. How was your day? Carter, stop breaking things. Conley, let's get a bath. Like, y'all, what'd you learn today? What'd you do? How's it going? Did you go play? Did you meet new friends? I just act really happy. Now, some of you I may be losing you here and going, oh, well, that's fake. That's false. That's not authentic. Okay. Everyone doesn't need all your authentic feelings. Let's just have a moment, okay? We don't need to vent all of our authentic feelings on Facebook. We don't need to express all of our authentic thoughts on Twitter. Everything you think doesn't have to be broadcast into the world. And I'm learning this from experience. Okay, by the way, like, you and me, like, I'm learning this myself. Sometimes you're doing the world an incredible favor by just acting nice, even when you don't feel it. And what's amazing is when I walk in the door and I act really happy to see my kids, who, by the way, are not at fault for whatever went wrong at work that day. When I walk in there and I immediately switch gears and just act the way that I want to feel, I act super happy because I really want to feel happy. Within 5 minutes, I have forgotten what I was upset about and I feel happy. I promise y'all, it's fascinating. It works every single time. You walk in the door and you act the way you want to feel, and your feelings follow every single time. Your feelings can drive your actions, or you can allow your actions to drive your feelings, but you get to choose. You get to choose which one you're going to let control you. And I love the quote by my friend Patsy Claremont. She spoke at our Business Boutique event in November, and she said, feelings do not have a brain. And feelings are valid, and they're real, but they don't have a brain. And if you let your feelings drive this car, they will drive you right off a cliff. And you'll say things you regret, and you will steal moments that could be awesome because you're letting your feelings drive that car. So act the way you want to feel. Even if you're in a situation that seems stressful, act like you're keeping your cool, act like it's going to be fine, act like you're happy even if you're not, and your feelings will follow. You can control your feelings by acting a certain way. And instead of being stressed, you can choose to feel calm, take a deep breath, and act like it's going to be fine. And guess what? I bet it will be. All right, so I want to recap with you guys these 5 tips that we have gone through here. So number 1, release yourself and others from expectations. It's amazing how that'll reduce your stress when you just expect things to go how they've gone. And if someone surprises you, great. It's a pleasant surprise. Number 2, remove emotions and focus on the facts. Number 3, write it down. Like take it literally off your mind, put it on paper. When you do that, your brain is going, whew, okay, my job is done. I can move on to something else. It's on paper. The paper has that job. So just write it down. Exercise. And then lastly, act the way that you want to feel. Act the way you want to feel, and your feelings will follow. Now, what we're going to do now is I'm going to take some of your questions. So you may have questions about your business. You may have questions about time management. You may have questions about stress and how do I deal with this family member, and how do I deal with this situation that's totally out of my control and really stressful, and how do I deal with this fear? Whatever it is, I want you to send me your questions in the chat. I'm going to dive into those and answer some of those questions now. And I'll tell you, this is my favorite part of the webinar, is when I get to answer your questions, because this is me in my role as a coach. So the last 30, 40 minutes, I've been in the role of the teacher, which I love. I love teaching you new skills, and there's certainly skills I'm learning, as you can tell, all my examples, and I have examples for days. But now I'm kind of shifting into the role of the coach, and this is where you and I have a conversation. You tell me what's going on, I give you some advice, ask some questions that help bring new awareness to what you're working on. We work through it together. So we're walking arm in arm together in that situation or in your business and so on. And really the goal of this time is for me to help you overcome challenges and reach your goals. So whatever those goals are, whether they're personal or in your business, like we're attacking them together. And the whole, everything we're doing right now is really what it's like to be an Academy member, because this is what I do with my Academy members. Every single month, I'm regularly teaching them through courses and lessons and coaching them in coaching sessions. And so you guys, I got to tell you, I only do webinars once every now and then. It's not that often. And it's really just to invite you into experiencing what it's like to be an Academy member. And this is just a taste of it, by the way, because we have video training lessons that I'm giving you all the time on a regular basis, and also the coaching sessions with me where we spend the majority of the time answering your questions, unpacking challenges you're going through and that type of thing. So I want to give you guys a code to save some money to join, to be an Academy member, so that you can actually get access not only to those training lessons, but also to the regular coaching sessions, which happen much more frequently than these webinars. So I want to give you your code. Your code is appropriate for this lesson, PEACE. P-E-A-C-E, not P-I-E-C. P-E-A-C-E, like peace. Peace on earth and goodwill to men. $10 off your first month, or $30 off your whole year. And so the Academy membership is $30 a month. So if you use this code, your first month is $20. Y'all, I'm telling you, just one of those training video lessons alone is worth $20. Like, this is an investment in you and your business. Plus you get the coaching sessions, you get personalized assessments. Like, this is a great investment of your money to reach your goals, invest in your business and yourself. And by the way, it's a tax write-off. So use the code PEACE. If you're writing notes down, write that down, P-E-A-C-E. This is only good until Saturday. So this is only good until Saturday to use that code, P-E-A-C-E, and then you'll get $10 off your first month. Or if you want to pay for the full year, normally it would be $360, obviously, at that rate. But it's $300 for the whole year. So it would be 2 months free. And then with this code, you get another month free. So you're only paying for 9 months, but you get 12 months, which is awesome. So that's $270 if you want to pay for the full year in advance and get an even bigger savings. And then you become an Academy member where we are walking together in your business. So I want to give you a quick example of someone who's one of our Academy members, and then I'm going to dive into your questions. Her name is Tracy. Tracy says, I just ran my billing for my bookkeeping business and did a quick look at what my year end will be. I grew my income by over, are you ready for this? 180% in 1 year. I'm almost in tears at how much my business has grown and how much I've grown in the process. I don't share this to brag. I share this because if you follow the steps Christy gives us, it works. I couldn't be more excited for next year and see what shape my company will take. I have so many people to thank for your encouragement along the way. This is an awesome example of Tracy, because the reality is, y'all, is if you don't commit to your business, it will not work. If you don't commit to your goals and your dreams, you will not get the results that you're looking for. I love the quote by Seth Godin where he says, if you wait until you have success to commit, you'll have neither. And successful people are not successful. They aren't committed because they're successful. They are successful because they committed. So invest in yourself and your dream if you want to get results, and commit. And you can go to businessboutique.com. I believe our team is putting some links in there. And there's Academy members present, by the way. So ask them, like, is it worth the money? And you can ask them anything. I stand by it because I'm like, y'all, the value for the money is crazy. And it's an awesome time where we get to walk together in your business. All right, so we're diving into some of our questions here. I do want to do a quick recap of a couple things people said were their favorite things to do. Exercise. Marilyn says she's an Orange Theory fitness fanatic. Marilyn, if you were in Nashville, you would see my husband there all the time. He is crazy about Orange Theory. I'm a little jealous because I'm outside the tribe, but he loves it. Katie says she started the Dollar Workout Club after the Phoenix event. She loves it. Awesome. Becky loves kickboxing. Becky, I love that. I need some kickboxing skills in my life. I should do that as well. So fun. So I love that you guys have some examples of things that you're doing. I asked you also what are some expectations you need to let go of, and Candace had a really good one. She said comparison between her kids, and man, that's hard. Like my boys are 2 and 1, and I already see how different they are, and I'm kind of like, Conley, can't you be more responsible like Carter? Carter, can't you lighten up like Conley? And man, you don't want to do that, but gosh, it's so hard. So that's a really good one. All right, diving into your questions, y'all. We've got about 15 minutes. I'm going to answer as many as I can. All right. Susan says, do you have a suggestion for an excellent daily planner? Will the Academy help me organize my thoughts and ideas and time, in turn making more productive and my startup easier? Yeah, so Susan, we don't actually have planners we give you. I will tell you, we have tons of women in the Academy that sell planners. So I don't know if you're asking for a paper planner or software. There's tons of software available. I have like a shared calendar on my phone that we share with our whole family. There's a lot of different apps and tools that you can use. But what I teach in the Academy in regards to what you're asking is I teach you strategies for time management. So I teach you how to organize your time, how to focus, what to work on, how to back out of your goals and break them down into monthly, weekly, daily, and micro goals so that you actually achieve them. But what you do, and I give you suggestions for tools and software, but how you implement those strategies is up to you. Because some people prefer a phone calendar, some people prefer a paper planner, some people prefer an app. You know, it's really up to you how you implement it, but we do teach you the strategies of here's how to be more productive, save more time, be more efficient, reach your goals, and that type of thing. And I'll tell you guys, we are always checking in our coaching sessions on what your goals are. So if you say to me 1 month, my goal is this, the next month I'm asking my team, hey, remind me at the top of the hour to ask so-and-so, ask Jen how she did on that sit-down appointment with her uncle that she had to fire, by the way. That was an example from last month. Like one of our coaching clients had an uncle that was taking advantage of her, not paying her, and we had to work through how to deal with the uncle that was not paying. And she had a great follow-up just 2 days ago in our coaching session, and it was #fired uncle. She was like, thank you guys. Fired him as a client. I feel so much better. He's working on paying me back. And we all celebrated that success. So I check in regularly every single month on your goals to help you hold accountable. But how you implement them is really up to you, Susan. And I'd be happy to give you some suggestions on software, tools, apps. But how you do it doesn't matter as much as that you do it. And so we teach you that it's important and what strategies, how to time block and focus and that type of thing. Audra says, my mother-in-law can make slighted comments and it makes me so stressed. I'm never sure if I should let it go or say something. Audra, are you reading my mail? Because I know that this is a struggle. I have people like this in my life, and that is the constant thing I'm asking myself. I just said this last night to my husband, Audra. I said, Matt, my struggle is when to speak up and when to shut up, literally. And I'm going through a season, to be totally transparent with you guys, where God is teaching me to just keep my mouth shut. Like he's just teaching me. He's like, Christy, I know you can speak up. Can you shut up? I know you can fight. Can you sit down and just take it? And I'm like, it's so hard. hard, especially if you're an outspoken person, to learn a skill you don't have. Now, if you are someone that's constantly being walked on, you probably need to work on the skill of speaking up. See, what we need to work on is determined by where we're weak. So I'm weak at keeping my mouth shut. I need to work on that. Someone that always keeps their mouth shut needs to work on speaking up sometimes, because it's appropriate in different situations to do both. I will say, Audra, that one of the best things that you can do in that situation would be not to react. Okay, so if you want to, at a different time when things are calm and cool and not a tense moment, say, hey, you said something earlier that I thought sounded kind of weird. I just wanted to ask you about it. And you're coming from this like curious perspective, and then it's very humbling. It's very non-confrontational, but it does let her know, I noticed that, and that wasn't okay. So let's talk about it. Because Audra, I tell you, one of the things that I am all about is I'm all about direct communication. Now, it doesn't need to be always confrontation, and it doesn't always need to be conflict, but I don't avoid things. And I don't recommend anyone avoid things. There's a time to just be quiet because the situation, it calls for it. But if there's a regular pattern, then you're resenting her, and that's not good for her because she can't change and improve if she doesn't know she's done something wrong. So I would, at a different time that's not tense, certainly not in front of anyone, just step aside. Say, hey, is anything going on? You said this. Did I do something that bothered you? And you come from this perspective of humility and curiosity, and immediately the guard is, the wall is down, and you can have an open dialogue that invites her to speak into maybe where that comes from. But that's a great, great question. I'll tell you, it's something I'm walking out every day of like, is this the time to speak up, or is this the time to shut up? And if someone has the perfect answer to that, I would love to know. But I think every situation is different, and every season is different depending on the person and what you're learning and going through. It's a great question. Rachel says, I work 40 hours a week right now. Because of some upcoming storms, I have to start a part-time job and still want to work on my business. Would it be best to put my business on simmer? Rachel, I think that if you are going through a season where you have to add time over here, you may feel the pressure to completely put it on hold, and you can if you want to. But if putting that on hold is a source of stress for you, I would just find ways to still keep it going on a very low level. So you could do something towards your business 1 hour a week. Maybe right now you're doing 20 and you don't have 20, but you could do something for 1 hour. And then you feel the satisfaction of, I've still got this going. I haven't completely abandoned it. It's not collecting dust. Maybe the efforts are minimal, but you're focused on quality over quantity. You don't have a ton of hours, but man, the hour that you do have, you're going to really focus on the most important things, and you're really going to have, make sure that you are as productive as possible, or the things that create the biggest results. So maybe for that hour, you're not spending that doing some social media posts. You're spending that creating products that are going to help customers. And that's a more tangible metric of success for you. Those are real dollars. You're helping real customers. And it's no longer a more passive use of your time like social media. I'm just making up examples here, but I would focus on quality over quantity. And then you can keep things going in the business and not feel like you've totally flipped the switch on it. It's really a personal choice, Rachel, to you on whether or not you want to put it on hold or not, or somewhere in between. But if that sounds really frustrating to you, or is really stressful, like, man, I have to give up my dream, you don't have to. You can just go through a season where it's going to be kind of on autopilot for a little bit. I'll tell you guys, I have been on 2 maternity leaves in the first 2 years of Business Boutique. And that was really hard to step away entirely. And I had worked ahead of time to have blogs that would still go out, social media that still went out. So I was still present, and it still was happening, but I wasn't doing anything like I do when I'm actually in the business, in front of the camera, teaching on stages, that type of thing. So it just was a much lower gear for the business and for me and for what my life required at the time. So I would recommend you figure out what that is for you and do the same thing, and be okay with the fact that it's a season. It doesn't mean it's forever. Becky says, I'm a calligrapher, and a lot of clients have been coming with urgent holiday requests, and I have been so nervous, but have turned them down. Any words of wisdom to press on? I just feel if I turn people away, I will lose more jobs in the future. Becky, I don't think that that's the case. I think that, you may lose a couple, and that's just a reality, but it's worth it to lose them to keep your sanity in the meantime. And you get to decide what you're comfortable with in terms of bending over backwards for clients or fulfilling really urgent requests. It's really normal at this time of year to have those requests, but you don't have to let that get to you. You can put everything on your website, social media policies. Any requests by this date have to be received by this date. We need 3 to 5 days lead time. When they call you begging, pleading, if you want to take it, you can, but if not, just say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm already backed up. I've already got clients. That just teaches them that next time they're going to get in early. So I'll give you an example. a couple years ago, I started buying a lot of gifts for family members on Etsy. And of course, they're personalized or monogrammed or whatever, engraved. And I realized what the lead time was for Etsy shops, because it's women like you that need some lead time to do this. You can't just turn it in 2 days in a lot of cases. And there was one necklace I wanted to get for, I think it was my mother-in-law, and I couldn't get it by Christmas because I thought of it too late. I thought of it like December 10th, and with creating it and shipping it, it wasn't going to get here. And all that taught me was next year I need to be earlier. And so this year, starting mid-November, I was on Etsy picking out what I wanted to get for gifts for people that were personalized, that were going to take more time. So what you're really doing, yes, you may lose them this year, which is what you want because you don't want to take the last minute request, but you're teaching them how to do business with you, which is actually a really good thing. And they will come back and behave better and think more ahead of time. Now, all of them won't, because some people are just last minute, but you as the business owner are training them on how to do business with you. And I think that's a very good thing, not a bad thing. And of course, if you want to take it, you can. Tina says, how do you handle people on social media who are constantly either just downright mean or always talking about politics? That's great. I love that. 2 things, Tina. I have a video on this, I think in the Academy. I think I have one on YouTube. I talk about this a lot on how to handle criticism. And then I also, as far as politics, I would ignore it. Like, drama this is for all of you. Drama needs an audience. If you don't give it an audience, the drama will die. So if you don't pour fuel on that fire, the fire will die out. Like, someone can only spin in their own orbit of political rants for so long. If you just ignore it, if you don't engage, then not only are you less stressed, but you don't feed the fire, okay? You don't continue the dialogue, and now you've roped yourself into this storm. Drama needs an audience. Don't give it an audience, and the drama will die out. Same thing true for gossip. If people are gossiping around you, if you join in the reindeer games, then it's only going to fuel the fire. But if you don't, if you just go, well, that person who put themselves out there by talking about that person feels real weird. They feel real all exposed that they just threw themselves out there and you didn't contribute. And then they'll start backpedaling and go, oh, well, she's not that crazy. Well, I'm sure I would have done the same thing. They'll start defending the person they were just gossiping about because you didn't contribute. So gossip, drama, political rants, don't feed it. Don't feed it, and it will die out. Now, as far as the criticism, here's my rule of criticism. And this is a good one to probably wrap up on because I know we're getting close. But this is for all of you that ever get criticism, which I would guess is all of you. If you're doing anything, you're going to get criticized. I ask myself 2 questions when I get criticism. Is it true? And is this person trying to help me or hurt me? Okay? Is it true? Okay? Give me an example. If I get some criticism, you talk too fast, I can't follow you. Is that true? Yeah, that is true. The more excited I get, the faster I talk. The more mad I get, the faster I talk. The more passionate I get, the faster I talk. I'm mad, passionate, and excited at all times, so I'm just talking fast at all times. Now, can I work on it? Yes, I can work on that. Is it true? Yes. If the answer to that question, is it true, is yes, that's something you want to lean into and learn from. You know what? When I talk fast, people can't follow me. When I talk fast, I can't help them. When I talk fast, I can't give them the answer they're looking for. I really need to work on slowing down. Okay, that's something I can lean into and learn from. It's still going to be a struggle, but I can learn from it. If it is not true, no, that's not true, then that's where you ignore it. So if someone says on social media that I'm a bad mom, which I have had before, bad mom leaving your kids, whatever, blah, 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 I ask myself that question, is that true? Nope, that's not true. I'm not a bad mom at all. And that's something I can ignore. I can shake it off and be like, they're wrong. That is not true. I can ignore it. So the question you ask yourself is it true? If yes, if what they're saying is true, you want to lean into it and learn from it. If no, if it's not true, you ignore it and shake it off. Okay? Now the second question, is their intention to help me or hurt me? If their intention is to help me, hey, I want to tell you talk too fast. I can't follow you. That intention is to help me. That's where I lean into that and learn from it. If someone's intention is to hurt me, you're a really bad mom, that's probably not to help me. That's probably to hurt me. That's where I shake it off and ignore it. So the 2 questions are, is this true? And is this to help me or hurt me? If the answer is yes, it's true, lean into it and learn from it. No, it's not true, ignore it and shake it off and move on. If their intention is to help me, lean in and learn from it. And if their intention is to hurt me, you shake it off and ignore it. And that's my own personal rule of thumb when it comes to criticism. And if you ask yourself those questions, it will really help you weed through the crap. I don't know if I can say crap here on this webinar, but I just said it, okay? It'll help you weed through the crap and figure out those people that are genuinely trying to help you with truths that you need to hear to grow and be better, and those people that are trying to hurt you and just throw hateful grenades at your social media page just to hurt your feelings and bring you down. And you don't have to listen to that. You can shake it off and ignore it. All right, guys, we have wrapped up our time. I want to remind you the code is PEACE. Go to businessboutique.com, sign up for your Academy membership so that I can keep helping you in your business. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.